Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kadash, for giving me the spirit and power to make this lesson. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teach this truth in Ruel, Wabarakatham, unto the elect. This is the Brother Gabar from the Great Millstone Dallas branch with another lesson, and this is going to something that we quote often in our lessons out on the highways and byways, which is that the servants of the Most High are going to eat, which is written here in Isaiah that I'm going to grab. And it's true. All right, the ones that are doing the Most High's will, all right, they're the ones that are going to eat. They're the ones that are going to be taken care of, the elect. In these times, as we already see, all right, because we have experiences with, the Lord delivering us from different situations, different things, all right, but ultimately, in the time of Jacob's trouble, in the day of the Lord, all right, going up into that fathership, that chariot, all right, that Yahweh Shai is coming back on, pursuant to 2 Ezra chapter 13, okay, and all the scriptures about, his coming, okay, but these things are only going to be given unto the ones that are serving Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, okay, the believers. Let's grab this in Isaiah chapter 65 and verse 13. It says, "Therefore thus said the Lord God, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed." Right. So the servants of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, all right, they're going to be taken care of. Okay, we read in the scriptures how in the time of Egypt, when the Lord brought those plagues, they would not come near the Israelites. When it was darkness, we had light not dwelling. All right, when the destroyer came, our firstborns and our firstborn of our cattle did not die. Okay, so on with all the plagues. Okay, it wasn't flies with us, it wasn't frogs with us, so on, so on, so on. Okay, you read the 10 plagues of Egypt. Okay, what happened in the deliverance? Okay, that's how it's going to be in this time. The Lord's going to take care of his men, his elect. Okay, all those that's not serving the Lord, that do not believe, that are spewing abomination, they're prideful, they're sinful. Okay, the Lord's going to number them to the sword, number them to the famine, number them to the pestilence, the teeth of wild beasts. Okay, and more things that are going to happen. Okay, so for us, we just need to focus on serving Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai and hoping and focusing on the fear of the Lord, man. Okay, because the ones that rebel, they're not going to eat. Okay, they're not going to they're going to want, they're not going to have the things that they need. Okay, divine intervention, protection. These great things have been given to us. We're in the know, we're in that secret place. Okay, so call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai for that. Okay, now let's go to this Sirach chapter 2. We're going to start at verse 1. Okay, detailing, all right, those that fear the Lord, all right, some like instructions. Okay, it says, Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." Okay, so for us servants, this is the things that we need to be focusing on. Okay, prepare your soul for temptation. Yeah, because you're going to be tried. Your faith is going to be tried by these trying things, all right, that the Lord is going to have you experience. Okay, it says, verse 2, "Set thy heart aright." All right, so you have to keep your eyes single. Okay, like Yahweh Shai spoke about, so that you can be, Yahweh Shai spoke about, so that you can be full of light. Okay, have your mind made up. Okay, be determined. Okay, you have to be like obsessed with this truth. It has to be constantly on your mind. Okay, you can't be treading lightly in this thing, as in like, barely trying, barely sowing. You got to be all in. All right, this got to be on your mind, man, or else you're gonna fall quickly. Okay, your roots not deep enough, you don't fear the Lord, and then Satan gonna have you caught up in some stuff. So be aware. All right, anyways, verse 2, it says, Set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble. Right? And we read about in the scriptures, we read about men that have been in trouble, but they didn't stray off from the faith of Yahweh Bashim Shai. They didn't stray off from the fear of the Lord. They kept faith, and the Lord eventually delivered them. Okay? Verse 3, because these are the things you're going to experience. So you have to hear these things. Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away. Okay? Now, quick precept. What's cleaving unto him? Let me grab this. This is Sirach chapter 25 and verse 12. Wait, Slakia. Wrong one. Let me type this again. Dang, why isn't that popping up? Slakia. Pulling up James every time I click on Sirach. Let me see if I can read it here. Sirach 25 and 12. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So you have to have faith. You have to maintain faith. All right, continue to cleave unto Yahweh Shema Shah. That's how you're going to do it. Okay? Going back to Sirach chapter 2, verse 3. Cleave unto him and depart not away. All right? That thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Right? And faith has works. So you have to endure unto the end with your faith, no matter what the situation looks like. And that's how your faith is going to be tested. Okay? You're going to be in a sticky situation that you don't want to be in. But the Lord is testing you to see, is you going to act within your faith or you're going to react within your flesh? All right? What are you going to do? It says, and depart not away that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Right? And that is true. You get rewarded. All right? Look at the book of Job. All right? We have read that book. All right? Job got increased at his end. Okay? Look at David. All right? Look at the different men in the scriptures. Okay? So the Lord is known to be a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. All right? As the scriptures say. Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. And this is why it's important to be very, 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 very humble in this truth. All right, because you're going to be in high positions at times, and you're going to be in extremely low positions at times. And you have to know how to deal with both. All right, how to, not be upset. All right, how to deal within your life, at these different times. Okay? You got to trust Yahweh Shema Shai, nonetheless. All right? Reading on, verse 5, it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Right? All right, so the furnace of adversity. Now, I believe if you grab this, Sirach chapter 2, let's get this in the GNT, because I believe when we read that, it says humility. Yeah. Verse 5, Sirach chapter 2 and verse 5 in the GNT, it says, God is tested, gold, Slakia. Gold is tested by fire, and human character is tested in the furnace of humiliation, right? And remember, humiliation goeth before honor, just like Yahweh Shai, right? He suffered the cross, he suffered the shame and everything. All right, now he's in this high place and he's coming to get that glory on the earth. All right, but as well for you, all right, you're going to go through humiliation before that honor comes. All right, because we know we're Israelites. We know that we're going to be in high places of honor. All right, but we're going through this humiliation now. Okay? And your faith is being tried, and your character. The Most High wants to see your character. What are you going to do when this happens? All right? What are you going to do when this happens? You're going to rely on me every time? All right? And it's a learning process. Do not get it wrong. It is a learning process. All right? Look at Peter. He went from denying the Lord, all right, to being, crucified, being a martyr, dying in the faith, all right, because of this witness, this testimony, all right, preaching Yahweh Shai, all right. So it's a building up. All right. And that's not going to be the exact faith for everybody to be, to go out like that, you know. But, we know that it's written, we know martyrs, our thing is going to happen is more prophecy to be fulfilled, that people will die, be deleted, for the same thing. All right. But continuing on. All right. Let's go back to the KJV. All right. So you know what to expect when you're serving the Lord. All right. It says, verse 6, Sirach 2 and 6, believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. Okay. Believe in the Lord, cleave unto him. Remember that. All right. We went into that. And he will help you. Right. All right. Strive for the truth unto death. And the Lord will fight for thee. Right. It's true. The Lord is going to help you along your path. All right. Look at Susanna. Didn't the Lord help Susanna? She cried out. She did the right thing. All right. That was faith. She was cleaving to the Lord. All right. She feared the Lord. She didn't do that thing. All right. She didn't let the men do that thing to her. She cried out to the Lord. Although it was a sticky situation. Looked like she was going to be put to death. But she got out of that situation because the Lord helped her, because she called out to the Lord and did the right thing. We got to be that woman that cried out to the Lord. Okay. It says, order thy way aright. All right. So be determined. Have your eyes single and trust in him. Right. All right. Because we walk by faith, not by sight, not by what it looked like, but by what the Lord can do for us and will do and continue to do and have done for us. All right. So yeah, Lord's will, this was edifying. All right. Give you more intel on that, because we always talk about serving the Lord. All right. But it could be surface for a lot of people, so you would know now, more details and what that would look like. Okay. As you actually do that. Sirach chapter 2. All right. So Lord's word is edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai for giving me the spirit and power to make this lesson. Until next time, Kamya Sharala. Shalom.